Hole in one!
So, how does learning about what make you able to use this? The warp staff has always been a polarizing item. Unlike a linear staff like the heal staff, the warp staff's usage is limited only by your imagination. Coupled with its limited access in most games, it makes for a tool that many don't dare to use because a pivotal moment later on might come up where you really need that warp use. And that's not entirely unwarranted. There's a few secret shops here and there that are only available through the warp staff, like in Blazing Blade and New Mystery of the Emblem. This hesitancy to proactively use the warp staff by most players and the tendency to hoard in general stands in stark contrast with playthroughs such as LTCs and similarly efficiency-based challenges. For LTCs, the warp staff is one of the greatest tools because it allows them to breeze past large portions of the map, or even the entire game. Looking at you, Shadow Dragon. With the lingering perception that LTCers are egotistical in nature and think poorly of those who play suboptimally or play with their favorites, the warp staff has garnered some infamy. A staff used to, essentially, only skip the entire game. How often do you see people asking advice on a map that they can't beat, and a multitude of the answers go along the lines of, just warp skip and kill the boss, or you don't need to beat the reinforcements, just warp your boss killer over and rush the seize point. These comments, though often providing an effective solution to the problem, rarely garner a positive reception. If the best way to beat a chapter is to skip it, the map design fails and the developers have made a bad map. Skipping the game has a negative connotation, but is it really that bad? I don't think so, at least not anymore. I think this is mainly a matter of mindset, as from a purely logical perspective, it of course works. You warp, you clear the objective, you don't have to interact with the map more than strictly necessary. But you leave all that XP, tactical decision making, small-scale problem solving and unit growth on the table. That feels bad. You leave so much possibility to the wayside, and intentionally missing out on all of that just does not create good unit feel and good game feel for most players. There's a reason the memeified saying of every defeat boss map is a route map exists. Gotta squeeze every bit of gain from the map to make it worth it. But the warp staff is just like golf. Except when I get a birdie, everyone thinks I'm a great golf player. But when I warp skip, it's not nearly as well received. Many people streaming or let's playing even limit their warp use to only removing tedium, such as warping to a faraway village or getting some treasure off of a fleeing thief, and ban any warp usage that targets the victory condition directly. The goal of golf is to play the least amount of golf possible, and that goal is seen as commendable. I think that mindset is really well suited to the usage of the warp staff. The warp staff is a driver, a club that allows you to slingshot a unit forward. It is a resource and it's there to be used. You don't have to use it if you don't find it fun, and that's perfectly fine. But people using it shouldn't be seen as a bad thing. Using the warp staff as a golfer is a form of skill expression, and that's really cool. The best part about the warp staff, however, is that you can of course find a lot of in-between applications as well. Warping a thief to a faraway chest, getting those secret shops I mentioned, or warping a general to a choke point. There's just so much you can do. And of course, some maps aren't masterpieces, I won't deny that. On one hand, Darkling Woods in FE8 is a map where you can do a victory lap with your best units for 90% of the map, but for others it just feels like tedium. A warp flight rescue drop to kill the boss is what excites them, giving the satisfaction of creating a situation where you can clear the map in one turn. Both are valid ways to play. The golfer's mentality looks at the maps a bit differently and values different things, but that's not a negative. I still think looking at the challenges a map presents, deducing which are relevant to you and then solving the problem in your own way is for good map design, and you can do a lot of creative things with that. I have found a new appreciation for the golfer's mentality. Thanks for listening to me ramble. If you like these kinds of videos, let me know in the comments below. If you want to support me, you can become a channel member or check out my Patreon. All of your support helps Daybreak further along, so thank you very much. And if you want to catch me live, you can check me out either on YouTube or Twitch. I'm currently doing an Iron Man of Path of Radiance with units submitted by chat, so fill out the form and maybe your Porin is the one to carry me through Clash. For now, thanks for watching. Sell out.